another episode of Lost in the Groove. Today we have a special guest, which I was very welcome to be on their podcast, which you should definitely go check that out. We have Shawn Ellis Rogers. So without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's this whole movement all about? Because I want to know.
Hey, everybody. Shawn Ellis Rogers here. I am the host of a lot of different podcasts, but the one that I'm probably here to promote today is Real Reality Realness. It is the
Yes.
podcast. It is the podcast where I dive deeper into reality television than most people watching feel is necessary. Ask all of the questions that they don't want out, all while getting to know some of my favorite content creators in the process. So Monday through Friday, I have a different content creator on the show. Come on, talk about their story, their journey to creating content, and how they relay their life story to me through the reality television that's kind of threaded their life together.
Wow. We kind of forget how important film, television shows, because unfortunately we do live in a society where, I remember Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon when it was filthy. Okay. I remember that. I was old enough to remember that as a kid. And yeah, it was bad for us. But the thing that I loved about it was it allowed us as kids, especially me, that were weird or kind of on the freak side, or just, we had something to relate to. Like I had Powerpuff Girls, I had the Fairy Odd Parents, I had Danny Phantom, Ed, Ed and Eddie. This was what
all
made
classics.
It's what made my childhood, and it made me eventually to what I am now. I feel like let my inner weird just be part of my daily lifestyle. But yeah. Whoa.
I think you should. I mean, we have the opportunity to curate our lives around our passions, especially now, because we have so much access to technology and the internet and things like that. We can pretty much do whatever we want on the internet and, figure out a way to make a coin off of it. Like, people are curating $1 million lives off of YouTube. People are, doing all of the things that people have quicker access to manifest their dreams now. So if you want to personify your weirdness or your childhood or your background or the shows that inspire you, if you don't do it now, it's your own fault, basically, because there's so many less things and obstacles that are standing in your way to do it. It's like, if you don't follow your dreams now, it's because you don't want to.
I feel like,
in my opinion.
I mean, I also feel like the biggest problem is now where so much of television and film is so restricted on so many things they cannot say. It's gotten to a point where you're sitting there and, excuse me, it's like eating a vanilla wafer. Like, first of all, who the fuck just buys vanilla wafers? Okay, that's just a waste of money. Like, you steal one from a coworker. Okay. That's what you do. That's what I do. And it bothers me because it kind of ruins the point of why we want to watch films and television. We're doing it because we don't want to be restricted. We want to be a part of something that is not the general norm. Isn't that the point?
Absolutely.
Isn't that the point? Yeah.
It's crazy because society goes in waves when it comes to social acceptance. And it goes in this wave of be yourself, be unique, let your freak flag fly, and all of that other bullshit that they used to put on bumper stickers when we were growing up. And then it goes into this wave of you should try to be like everybody else. And now we're in this wave of everybody should be cisgender and heteronormative and Christian, and we should all be the same. Little houses on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack, all of that shit. And I don't understand it. It's like, what? Like, you can't. And it's not even a generational thing, because
It's not.
I feel like I've seen both waves of that as I was growing up, and I see both waves of it now. Because today, for example, you'll see trans acceptance more mainstreamed in the media than it's ever been, right?
Right.
Yet at the same time, the numbers of trans women of color murdered every year continues to go up every single year.
Because
So the flip side of
they're not look see the thing is they're not looking at the bigger picture, because when you take generational wise, okay, when they take people like, I'm considered to be Generation Z. The problem is that for people my age, I'm born 99. So anybody that's born 99, 98, 96, sorry, 98, 99, 98, 97, 96, we're not a part of the generation that grew up in the 2000s. We had a very different childhood than people before 97 and after 99. And what was our childhood? I'll tell you exactly what it was. We had to go through, after what happened to 9/11, we had to go through Sandy Hook. We had to go through trauma, abuse through the roof. And some of us went through it worse than others. Some of us didn't experience it at all. But the point is like, they're painting a picture that I've never seen. I never saw that picture. That picture doesn't exist. You're telling me this, but where is it? Where is this supposed change you claim? I don't see it.
Right. My generation is the generation before yours. I'm a categoric millennial, right? And so I do blame a lot of the issues and a lot of the unpreparedness I feel like your generation has for this world on my generation. Because I feel like, you know, my generation was raised to kind of like break these curses and not instill the same traumas that our parents instilled on us. However, they didn't prepare us to go through our own traumas and our own shit. So my generation was kind of caught in that crux of, you know, not doing what our parents did, but also not allowing your children to be themselves, because you still want them to be better than you. You still want them to have a better life than you had. And I think my generation going into yours is more like, we just want to let everybody be themselves, do whatever they want, no constrictions, no type of, you know, whatever. Just fly free, right? And so it goes from one extreme to the other, where it's like you're either completely sheltered or you have zero structure at all, and there's no middle ground. So it's like there's no cohesion between the generations because there's no learning from the generation before you to take into, not on like a widespread thing. Does that make sense? Like because like the exception is to the rule are the people who should be teaching the masses.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so here's the deal. Like, and I just realized this, like, on this podcast, Eli, which is the one of our co-hosts, and she does Peace of Mind. She was born.
Eli. Hey, Eli.
We had this conversation where she's an early millennial. I think she was born 80. I think it was 83 or 84. Carissa was born 89, and Henry, I believe, was 92 or 93. Don't quote me on this. I'm terrible with years. But the point is that
so I'm right in the mix of there.
Yeah. You have literally 3 generations of people having three different perspectives on life. And just like you said, Eli grew up with hippie parents. Carissa grew up with parents that were Midwesterners. You know, Henry grew up in a very sovereign, conservative home. I grew up from parents that were older, you know, but they also had their different perspective. The thing that people kind of forget is what our parents are teaching us now is just the repercussion of what their parents taught. It's always a ripple of what happened previously is how you're inflicted. That makes any sense.
That's how, yeah, because people tell us all the time that like, as we get older, we become our parents, right? And, you know, the more that we try to fight it, the more that we end up just like them. Like I've said my entire life, I'll never end up like my mother. I'll never be my mother. I'm just like my fucking mom today. I'm just like her in the good ways and the bad ways, which is the part that I think that we don't think about because we all try to like not inflict the traumas that our parents inflicted on us, onto our children, or like carry that into our relationships and etc. But then you don't necessarily think about the good parts of your parents that get instilled in you as well. And it's like with good comes bad. The problem is we need to learn to be more open about our traumas with our children because we try to keep our children from going through the things that we went through, keep our children from being us. You know, I want you to be better than me. I didn't want you to end up like me. Yeah.
I mean, like
But they're going to have their own traumas and their own lives, and they're
yeah,
going to
they
go through
are.
their own shit. So it's like you have to prepare them for trauma in a general sense. And maybe if you're more open with your own, they'll kind of take what you learned or learn something from your story and navigate their own. It's like you can't protect them from shit they don't know about. That's all I'm saying.
No, and it's true. I mean, like I had the same thing where
Can I curse on here? I'm sorry,
oh
because
yeah,
I have a potty mouth.
no, that you can fucking curse as much as you like. On this podcast, we can say all the curse words.
Don't tempt me with a good time, though.
So
No
for me,
points.
so for me, I could totally relate to this because you know my whole entire childhood, everybody told me I was just like my father. I look just I. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna actually see if I can find this picture while I'm talking. Um,
Nice.
this is crazy, but anyway, what basically happened was because I I looked like my father. I hated that. Okay, it was just like, no, I don't. You know, as a kid, like, no, 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 you know, and
No.
it bothered me for a very long time. Um, and then, you know, he passed away a few years ago.
My condolences.
Yeah, and I realized, you know, here was a person that like I tried to run away from my entire life. And then, you know, like this whole idea of like you turning into your parent. I hate to say, like, I have qualities of my dad, and I think that's what makes me okay. All right. This was my dad, my
Wow.
age.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
like, and this
Exactly
was
like.
it like scared some of my family members. I had some family members were telling me like you look exactly like your and I'm going on a complete like stone phase right now, but what the point I'm trying to make is that it's not a bad thing to turn into your parents. Remember that down to the molecular level, you are the DNA of your mother and your father.
Absolutely.
It makes sense you would have those kind of characteristics. It's baked into what makes you you. Oh, that was a
Yeah, and I think people are always scared of that part of it because they don't want to take the negative parts and they never think about the good parts. And then when they do think about the good parts, it's like, oh, I look like this person, or, you know, da 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 da. And they the thing is they always end up taking one without the other, right? So it's like they take the good and they embrace the good and they never think about the bad, or they're running so far away from the bad that they never think about the good. And it's like you're going to be an amalgamation of your parents no matter what, because those are the people that created you. You just
right.
have to take, like, it's like this Bruce Lee quote that I have tattooed on my stomach. It says um um take in what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. So you have to take the good, make the best out of that, learn from the bad, and discard of that that trauma, deal with it, let that go, and then add what is uniquely your own as a combination of that. Because you're gonna end up, even though you are your parent's child, you're still an individual person. Like, you're still gonna be yourself. So just because those two people created you doesn't mean that you're gonna actually be those two people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have also a quote tattoo, which was my first tattoo, which is from Walt Disney. I know people have problems with Walt Disney, but it's a powerful quote, which is, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And it relates so well to this. It's where it is. It's kind of fun to do the impossible. You know what the impossible is? Is accepting you are your parents.
That is impossible. That is definitely one of the impossibles. Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? I think that's part of like first step training when it goes into parenthood. It's like, if you even think about having children, if you even think about putting yourself in a position to have children, I think that you should always consider what you took from your parents. Because if you haven't dealt with that, own that, embrace that, whatever the case, whatever you need to do with that, if you haven't dealt with that, you're not only going to be taking your own traumas into your child's life, you're going to be taking your parents' traumas into your child's life too. Because the way that you deal with your traumas is a manifestation of the traumas you haven't dealt with from your parents.
Yeah.
You're just fucking your children up and compounding their
It's a
trauma.
paradox. It's a paradox. It's a
Yeah.
When I say paradox, what I mean, it's kind of like a video game where you have the component you're controlling. And this may sound sadistic or scary, but it's not. What I'm trying to tell you is your parents are just continuing a program that's been manifested for years. You know, just like a video game, you have those updates that come there and there. And when you have this paradox, this vision, you just continue this, you know, this pattern. What, what just happened?
Children is
Oh
what just
boy.
happened.
Oh damn. You
Like,
mentioned.
listen, there's a whole sign in here that like says that I'm doing something that like clearly says on air, that I tell my child, can you please not make a lot of noise while we're doing this, because like I'm doing something and I'm being recorded and I'm working. And so me being able to hear my child out here screaming, I was like, hold on one second. Let me be a black mom really quick. Like, what is going on? And then
Oh
you
my
sit here and
god.
leave the dog outside. Like, what is going on? But please keep talking. I am all the way tuned in.
But what I'm trying to say is very shortly, because I went on a complete whirlwind. Um, there's this like manual when it comes to parenting. You have this issue where parents just keep on continuing the same thing over and over again. And again, like I'm a person. I don't have kids. You know, I do have a cat, but that's not, you know, having a child. But I do see parents that try different tactics, during different techniques, listening to different people, listening to different ideas. Um, and it's really cool to see diverse parents. I never even thought that was a thing until I met a couple that was like that. They were just a diverse parent. We don't understand this, and it's crazy because I'm turning 24. I'm 23 years old. I'm not that old, but so many things have changed since I was a kid. I mean, it just makes sense. It just makes sense for diverse parents to be a real thing. And I think it's honestly, I think it's a lot has to do with how the LGBT community has been able to have marriage on the table. And I know like it's such a like, you know, government, and it's not. I don't know. It I feel like it changes the dynamic up a little bit.
I agree with that. And to your point, like I wish my parents would have embraced their diversity with me, or at least my mother, because that was the one that I was predominantly raised with. I'm half Panamanian, and my mother is full blooded Panamanian. She's a Panamanian woman. She's lived in this country since she was like very young and all of that. But like she's still a Panamanian woman that was raised by a Panamanian woman with full Panamanian culture, right? And so it boggles me every day that my mother didn't raise me with Panamanian culture. Like she literally just kind of raised me as just another black kid. And so I've always grown up feeling like there was this part of me that was missing, or this part of me that I didn't understand because I didn't know that side of myself. I didn't understand like what my Panamanian culture was. And so as I'm getting older now, I'm trying to get more into that and learn about my Panamanian heritage, but I feel like it's put me a step back when it comes to my kid, is because I can't teach her about half of me because I don't know anything about it. So to your point, diverse parents should be a thing. And when they are diverse parents, they should embrace being diverse parents. I feel like a lot of it's crazy that this country is supposed to be a melting pot and a place
Yeah.
that's supposed to be the land of opportunity where, you know, people come from other countries to embrace their dreams and be their best selves. Yet a lot of people come to this country and they end up trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
end up trying to whitewash. They end up trying to, you know, clear out the uniqueness of their culture so that they can just get by in this country. That we end up not having a fully developed diverse sense of ourselves.
On the flip side, my dad, he exposed me to his culture, but didn't teach me his language. So the crazy thing about Oz, and I've had conversations with my brother about this, is he never taught us proper Arabic. He never taught me proper French. I can't speak. Do you understand this? I can't speak to my family in Israel because we don't speak the same language. Okay.
Wow.
But I know our history. This is crazy. I know our history. I know where we come from. I know the countries that we reside in right now. I know family names, but I don't know the fucking language.
How does that happen? Because I can blame my mother for not teaching me Spanish because she doesn't know Spanish, but I can blame her for not instilling the Panamanian accent in me, or not teaching me like traditional Panamanian foods. Because when she talks to her mother, she speaks like a full-blooded Panamanian woman with the heavy accent and all of that. But then when she's not on the phone speaking to her direct family member, she sounds like just a regular old American woman. That bothers me. And I wonder why that is, because I would have loved to have a Panamanian accent growing up and embrace that. Like I grew up during the time when being biracial, being foreign, being ethnic, being diverse was popping. You was cool if you was mixed with something back in my day. You know what I'm saying? You was hot, you was spicy if you was
Mm-hmm.
mixed, especially if you was mixed with something that had a little Spanish twang on it. Oh, you was it. So like to just not even be able to connect to that. And then to not even feel like I look quote unquote Panamanian. Like I feel like I just look black, right? So it's like I can't
Not
even connect to it in
necessarily.
look.
Not
Oh well,
necessarily.
thank you.
I don't.
Well, I appreciate that.
You know something. This is also like, I'm gonna say this because I've been exposed to a lot of black culture. I grew up around Jamaicans and Haitians, um, Nigerians, Kenyans, and this is just me. I think you can see there's diverse culture within black people. I When you see
Mm-hmm.
Haitian culture, you see Jamaican culture, you see um this other country. I just my brain, I'm sorry. There's a lot of
You're
other
fine.
countries, but we tend to like to, and I don't want to get into a whole, culture facade. Like I'm not interested in that. All I'm saying is I'm one of those people. I like to learn more. Okay. So you
Mm-hmm.
say Latin people. All right. What is Latin? Okay. And you're like, well, there's Panamanian, um, there's Nicaraguan. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I can never pronounce it correctly. Guatemalan. You have all these different cultures, and then you can dig it into it more. That's just me. That's how I like to learn how the world works. And I'm not saying this works for everybody,
Same.
but
Well, I mean, I feel like it should, especially when you embrace the differences in people when you want to. Like, you embrace that in somebody when it makes them more attractive. You embrace that when you think about having children and like what your children's hair texture will be. You know what I'm saying? Like these conversations come into play in the weirdest places, yet a lot of people don't invest in actually learning about the culture. They just care about the label that goes along with it and how that DNA will like resonate into their children. Or like, so you Dominican? Oh, so that mean that my baby gonna have, some real 3C hair and green eyes. It's like that's not what this is about.
well,
Not what it's about. That's not why you should embrace
okay,
being Dominican.
girl, if you have Dominican, you got to mix in something a little bit more spicy. You got to put in there like a little Mexican. Okay, if you put Mexican and
That was
Dominican,
just the first thing that came to my mind.
the Mexican counter reacts the Dominican, and then you kind of get like a half breed of like both Mexican and Dominican. And in short, you get a 6'5", tall, curly, black hair, light brown eyes, and he will fucking murder the shit out of you. His name is Papi. Papi Santana.
Always.
No, always. And I'm not just like throwing this. I actually know somebody like that.
Shout out to him.
He's a sweet guy, though. He's very tall, but he's a very sweet guy. He's not like that at all.
I've dated a guy just like that. So I get it. I'm like, yeah, I understand. Yeah, he's out there.
They're the tall friend. I call them the tall, friendly giants because I know somebody out here also. He's an indigenous Ecuadorian, big guy. He looks like, and I'm not trying to judge him, but he looks like a person that will murder you.
Love that for him.
He's the sweetest guy. Like I like you. Just for me, I just want to give the guy a hug. I feel like that's also like something. I'll be honest. I feel like when you have certain disabilities, like I have learning disabilities, and when you have to learn how to see the world through your own eyes, and you see people for who they are, and you learn them, and you find out more. And I love when people surprise you. Like, oh, I didn't know you did that. Oh my God, that's so cool. Get out of here.
Me too.
It's wonderful.
I think that's why I'm so obsessed with docu-style television and like documentaries, reality shows, docu-shows, like things like that, is because I'm obsessed with learning about real people. And like, while it's fun to invest in a character, I do enjoy seeing how real people react to situations in real time. And because I didn't get the chance to be a foreign exchange student, we've talked about this. I like to learn about different cultures and different types of people in as many ways as I can. But because I'm also reclusive, we've also talked about that, I don't, leave my home. So what's the best way to learn about people when you live inside a bubble? You go and watch documentaries, you go and watch all the things, you go and watch YouTube, and you watch real people talk about their own damn lives. And,
it's just as hard. I'll tell you something. I feel like the most powerful people in the world, when I say powerful, I'm talking about people that, they have that drive, not actual power. Fuck those motherfuckers. Fuck them in the ass. Fuck the man.
Love that for you. Yeah, but like really though.
But the people that have that drive, that fierce desire, and these are people that are heavily fucked up. Okay, they went through trauma and abuse, and you know something, they give us the best fucking music. They give us the best fucking art. They give us the best fucking movies and films because they're taking their trauma and their pain and they're creating a tool out of it, which is their art.
You know, I wish that that was more present and at the forefront of why people created art, because now music and art has been so sensationalized and it's been so about the capital and about the money and about what you can get out of being in the music industry versus why people want to create music in the first place. And I think that if we actually resorted our ear back around true stories and um, songwriters and, you know, the reality that comes with music, I think that it'll help people understand and relate more, because I think a lot of that energy that is put into music nowadays translate to how people present themselves on social media. Do you get what I mean?
Well, I think the biggest problem we face right now is the underground. And the underground scene was usually very prominent and easier to find. But we've reached a point where it's very hard to find the underground. And the reason is because there's so much today. You know, to find the underground, you must dig deep beneath. But the truth is, you know, like if you start following people that are a part of the underground, like on Instagram or social media, you'll start finding others along the way. So, unfortunately, I think even with as fast as things have gotten, it's a slower process for a lot of things still. Much slower process.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that because things are such instant gratification, instant movement, you just click a button and it loads. You don't have to think about very much anymore. You just press it and it happens.
Yes.
I think that people don't have to take the time to think about anything anymore. People don't have to take the time to process. People don't have to take the time to actually realize what's going on or what they're doing or the impact of what decision they're making could be having, because people are so focused on instant gratification that they're not thinking about the long-term impact of these quick decisions. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just, once again, with that good comes bad.
Yes.
You know, it's like, can you order something online now and your food be here in 30 minutes so you don't have to cook? Sure.
Yeah.
But because you're doing it that quickly, you're also not thinking about all of the steps that your food has to go through to get to you.
And monetary.
And on top of that, you're paying more just for it to get to you. Like you're paying to be lazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cause like DoorDash, like I love y'all down, but it just almost feels like a scam. It almost feels like a scam. Like it just I don't understand. Like it almost feels like you're paying for your food twice just to get it delivered to you, and it's like Jesus. Like I want people to make their money, but it's like.
I know.
Why am I paying $20 for Wendy's? It just doesn't make sense.
Because it's Wendy's, and the burgers are in the shape of a square, so you know it's better for you.
Exactly. That's how you know it's healthy. That's how you know it's USDA approved. That's how you know it's vegan.
Yeah, because
it's how you know it's kosher.
Yeah, like, it's right.
Just because it's a square.
It's the dumbest shit. It's the dumbest shit.
I don't understand that. Like that's the shit that boggles me about Wendy's, is that you brag about your food never being frozen, but you don't talk about it being oddly shaped. Okay, sure.
I think like kind of just like tying this back is where we live in a fast, quick society where things just come to you within the snap of a finger. like you said. And you know, I'm one of those people that will say this. I remember there was a time when there was no demand. So we just had cable, and you wanted to watch a movie. You would have to go, Mom, what? I want to go to Blockbuster. It's 6:30. I want to go to Blockbuster. And you would get in the car with your mom, and you'd go to Blockbuster, and you'd pick out a fucking movie for the night. You had to do all that shit if you wanted to watch a movie. Now we can just fucking sit on our couch, press a button, we watch a movie. That didn't exist when I was a kid. None of that existed.
Yeah. Like, I even think about, like, I was the generation that first started having like just cell phones, right? Like kids having cell phones. That was my generation, right? Now, mind you, in the 80s, kids had the big ass, like, the big old book bag phone.
Bertha, honey, it was Bertha. It was a Bertha phone.
It was literally as big as my dog. Like, I'm putting the entire animal up to my ear, like, hi. It's like, hi. You hear me? No, you can't.
Costs $1 a minute.
$1 a minute, terrible reception. There's cords everywhere. Like, it's ridiculous. But my generation had the first, like, regular, like, actual cell phones, right? That we know of today. Like, anyway. And we didn't have, like, YouTube on our phones. We didn't have, like, Netflix. We didn't have streaming services. We didn't have social media.
Nope. Some of us
social media was invented in my generation.
Well, there were some phones that you could have done messaging back and forth. Like my generation, I had a Sidekick. So I remember
the best days. Nothing will ever beat a BlackBerry for me, but I did love Sidekick.
I loved it. And like the best thing, like you could text and people forget, like, kind of the main reason why we used to abbreviate like LOL, LMFAO, and all this is because we used to have to pay for characters. So my monthly plan, and I remember this, was 600 minutes and 1,000 characters. 1,000 characters.
My first plan was like, I think it was maybe like 750, 1,000 minutes, and like 500 text or some shit. Like,
it's horrible.
You're paying me by the text message? That is piracy. It's robbery.
And then, like people forget like why we used to call very late at night was because after 9.
Because we had to. Yeah. That's when it was free.
Yeah.
Call me after 7, girl. My daytime minutes. I ain't got enough minutes. Call me after 7 when it's free. Don't do that. Like, girls don't have to think about that. Now, every plan is unlimited. Every plan is unlimited. Again, I love that for you kids.
Again, instant gratification. Sorry. This is what it comes back to is when you have this instant gratification, you don't have to think. You could just...
Yeah, we had to think about what we said because we was paying by the text message. We had to think about the shit that we was typing. Our text messages back in the day were well thought out because we were paying by the character. We was paying by the text message. Like, we had to say what we had to say and get it out quick. Okay. Now, y'all don't got to think about that. Y'all got all type of Wi-Fi, iMessages, and all that shit. Y'all can talk all the shit y'all want to down to the Twitter and don't have to think nothing about it. And now, with the iOS 16, y'all can edit messages now. Y'all can talk shit and then go back and fix it.
I love it. I love it.
Don't I sound like I'm 60?
I sound like I'm 55 and I'm just 23. Whew.
This is what I mean when I say that I'm 31, but I project myself to be 60. Because I remember when I come from me growing up is so completely different than the way that this generation is growing up now. Like, I remember when they used to send you the internet in the mail on CD.
Yeah, AOL Online. I remember the login. Remember, I don't quote me on this. I remember as a kid, I believe we had dial up in our house, and I remember like the little guy, the little triangular guy used to start bouncing around, and that meant it was loading.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I remember that.
and like I will say this though, I still love the new generation now, and
Yeah, we love y'all with your spoiled asses.
but the thing is that with their spoiled asses, they they have more opportunity than we did. They do,
Hmm.
and they can do a lot more than we can. And it's not saying that we didn't do enough, but we couldn't have done more because we didn't
We had
have.
to do a whole lot. We had to work a whole lot harder to get half as far as y'all do. Just
Yes.
like down to even this raggedy ass music y'all making nowadays. We had to get discovered. We had to go pay money. We had to go beg our parents for money to go into
Yeah.
a studio. First, you had to convince them to believe in your raggedy ass raps and then convince them that it was worth taking you to the studio and paying their money to put you in a studio for a pipe dream in the first damn place. So
Yeah.
you actually had, so like back in our day, you had to actually be talented to make music because you actually had to convince people to believe in you to even get you in the studio to make your damn music. Now you can download GarageBand in your iPhone, slap a damn song on SoundCloud, and have 20 million views by next Friday.
I
Shout
know.
out to Doja Cat's Moo.
I've noticed that though, but like I've seen rap artists bring back like old school gangster rap, and people forget. Okay, this is gonna blow people's minds away. Um, Gangster rap back in the day, yeah, people
Mm-hmm.
weren't like shooting off like missiles and crisis and like bombs going off. No, no, no. Gangster rap was about community. It was
Mm-hmm.
about our group, our house,
Mm-hmm.
our rules. And then they turned it into like this violent, and there were a lot of people to blame for this in the late 80s. But again, I'm like, I'm not shaming or anything. What I'm trying to say is that to be creative, you actually have to do something to be creative. If you
Mm-hmm.
just take a sticker and stamp it over here and take that sticker and put it over here, get
It
out of
doesn't
here.
work.
No, it doesn't work.
And the reason why gangster rap worked was because it wasn't glorifying the gangster lifestyle. It was highlighting the unique perspective of what it was like to live in that neighborhood. It was saying, we want to make it out of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back then, we were talking about how the drug dealer was a bad person. Now people are bragging about being like back then. You either bragged about how evil the drug dealers were, or you bragged about being the drug dealer because you had to provide for your mama. Now y'all are bragging about being drug addicts. I don't know what that means.
I don't
Okay,
know either.
that makes no sense to me.
No.
But like people glorify being in the hood. People glorify the shit that we were trying to get away from so that we could make a life for y'all asses to glorify about not actually living this life. And that's the thing. The shit that people were rapping about when I was growing up, like my favorite rappers are Ice Cube, Tupac, LL Cool J. They talked about their
Yes.
actual experience, where they were in actual life, what was going on when they walked out of their door. Y'all talk about the shit y'all see on YouTube. Y'all talk about the shit that y'all see in your favorite rappers' videos. Y'all talk about the y'all talk about the shit that your favorite rapper's favorite rapper talks about.
Think
And it
about
don't be
like
nothing y'all live in.
think about like even like Salt and Pepper, which is like later, like they're kind of like the late 80s, 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. I fucking love those girls. Okay.
Yes.
They they were amazing
I wanna
rappers.
shoot, baby. That's my shit today, honey. I still listen to Shoop on a regular basis, honey.
Shoot,
And know
nah,
every
nah.
word.
Shoot, nah, nah. Okay, we don't want to get slap credits.
Listen, and I am not gonna get your show canceled, but all the people who are listening to this, when you're done with this podcast, go and listen to Salt and Pepper Shoot and thank me
Yes.
later.
But like those, okay, so like I don't want to be like one of those old, those old people like dreaming in the past, but the past does teach us a lot about our future. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And again, not shitting on the future generations because I do love what the kids are doing now. I love saying that the kids are doing now. Oh my god. Um
I embrace it. I embrace being the old bitch in the club. I embrace being the one to say, back in my day. I love being that kid now. I love being that person. Being like, I don't know what you kids are doing now. I don't understand this. Like, I love being the person that don't know who none of the new rappers are.
I don't know
I
any of
love
them
that.
other. I don't know. Like somebody was telling me, okay, this is hilarious. This girl was at work. She was telling me, she's like, oh, I'm going to a Bad Bunny concert. And I'm like, excuse me, Bad Bunny? She's like, yeah, he's a rapper. I'm like, named Bad Bunny? And it turns out like he's this like super
One of the
famous.
biggest people in the fucking world. Yeah.
And I'm like, who the hell is this? I don't even know who this guy is, or I don't even. I love that. Oh my god, it was an amazing moment.
I embrace it. I love being the person who don't know who none of these damn rappers are, don't understand nothing about what y'all talking about. I love don't not knowing what the slang is. So I love saying, as the kids say now. You know what I'm saying? Like no cap. I love being that.
Okay, but honey,
we are
taking.
What you talking about?
We're taking sus. Okay, sus is for our generations. All right, we get sus, girl. All right.
Y'all are just abbreviating shit that we used to say. Like,
I know.
Or like y'all are just repurposing shit that we're saying. Like the City Girls just shortened point blank period and just called it period. And y'all act like they created a whole new fucking word. Like, shout out to them. They made it a whole thing. Like, period is a wave. And anytime you hear period nowadays, you think about the City Girls. But we've been saying point blank period forever.
It's also like kind of like the slang of like sissy that walk.
Yeah, like Lil Kim said, throw shade in the 90s.
This is
Said,
like,
I'm gonna throw shade if I can't get paid. Blow you up to your girl like the army grenade. I ain't gonna get you flagged. But girl, crush on you. The 90s. Lil Kim been throwing shade in fur bikinis since 1993. Like, what are we talking about, children?
I know.
Children.
And like the thing is, like people forget like a lot of the slang that exists in the ballroom and the drag is actually it. I mean, like Shantae.
Watch Paris is Burning and grow up.
You know, like Shantae. You know, like Shantae or Fabulous Dark. Like all of these things is like it's not new. It's old. It's repurposed. It is. A lot of this is. It's all repurposed.
Yeah, like the same shit y'all talk about now was the same shit that the Queens was telling me when I was your age. I was having drag queens teaching me all about the tea and throwing shade when I was 15 too. So please don't act like RuPaul's Drag Race is teaching y'all shit. Now, if that's where y'all learning it from, that's fine. But understand that everything on RuPaul's Drag Race is referential. Everything on RuPaul's Drag Race is referencing something. So when Drag Race is teaching you these words like reading is fundamental and throwing shade and all of that stuff, all they're doing is teaching you Paris is Burning.
It's kind of like the quote, the gay language.
Yes, or as Republicans call it, the gay agenda. But we're not going to get political here. But I just, but like, it really is just like people just like Black people have Ebonics, right? Queer people have their own language, and a lot of it comes from ballroom and drag culture. You just have to do your full extent of your homework. If you learned about it from RuPaul's Drag Race, that's great. But also take that step further and learn where the reference comes from. Learn what the reference is referencing. Because if you go to somebody my age and talk about RuPaul taught me about death drops, I'm going to look at you like your ass is crazy.
Basically, you going fishing.
All. You gone, girl. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I'm going on break. Don't worry about it. I'm going on break. I can't handle this. Because first of all, to understand why I would just leave you standing there just to break that down, first of all, it's not a death drop. It's called a dip. one. And when I was growing up, drag queens did not do voguing. Like when drag queens vogued, it was like a gimmick. Like the ballroom and the drag culture was very separate when I was growing up, right? Like I didn't realize that there were like drag categories
Mm-hmm.
in between. Like I remember the old drag categories in the 90s, but then I didn't really see drag categories when I entered the ballroom at 18. And then all of a sudden I now see drag cat, categories everywhere in the ballroom now. So when I was growing up, it was like you saw drag queens doing pageants, and then you saw the trans girls doing balls, right? And every now and again, you would see them mix and mingle because trans women did drag and all of that type of stuff. But it was very separate. So, like, while I credit Shangela for being the first person to do a dip on Drag Race,
Mm-hmm.
the whole, like, it's just, there's this whole conversation around nogging that's happening
The
where
problem,
there's a lot of drag culture that's disrespecting ballroom
yeah,
culture because they want to make it cool and make it cute, and they're making fetch happen because it's on TV, but it's like you're teaching them the wrong shit.
it's like also when you take so burlesque, burlesque
Mm-hmm.
culture, um, and don't quote me on this, but burlesque trans culture around like what we call ballroom on the West Coast, not on the
Mm-hmm.
East, because burlesque is more prominent out over there.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that now where the girls, the drag queens that have that like the goth or burlesque feel. There's been a lot of problems over the years, of one's coming over that one. There's a war tariff going with this one. That one cursed that one out on social media. This one did things to younger people.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes like I feel like there's ways to avoid attracting the wrong kind of people and audience when you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
create a creative project. And I feel like those steps are being missed. I'm not going to say on purpose, but you can clearly see that they're being missed. They're not taking the same precautions that they need to be taking.
I feel like people get inspired by things, but don't actually credit the inspiration or do the actual research into the inspiration. I feel like people get inspired by something and then they just take what they saw only and use that to go off and do whatever it is they do. Kind of like how this nogging thing that I was talking about happening about people fake voguing because they see people doing, all of the little, fake this and the that and the that and the that, and they think it's voguing and it's not. There's a very strategic like way to do. There are 5 elements to voguing. Like there's hand performance, dip, spins and turns, all the things of the thing. And so it's like you have to, if you're going to reference something, actually reference what it is. Like don't take something you saw and then just automatically think that that's the whole basis of what it is. Because when people criticize you for it later and you realize you don't have the extensive history of what it is you're doing, you're going to feel crazy defending yourself for some shit that you're not even informed about.
You posted on Instagram. I don't know her real name. She plays Electra in Pose. Dominique Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Get the
She
shoes, baby. Get the shoes. Okay.
she was commenting on this person that couldn't understand this video around a trans person. I didn't watch the video. I couldn't find it, to be honest with you.
What she was responding to
Yeah.
was this propaganda that a trans woman was involved in the murder of Shanquella. I can't remember her last name, but people are running with this narrative that it was a trans woman that beat her to the point of death, right? And I'm not invested in this whole story. I deal with enough death and I have enough trauma. I just send my condolences to the family and pray that the people who did this get caught, and I protect my peace and keep it pushing. But there's this narrative going around that a trans person was involved, and that story has been broken down and debunked. However, people are not listening to the entire video and getting the entire story. So they're taking a headline or a soundbite or a piece of clickbait, and they're running and creating an entire narrative off of some bullshit. Right. So Dominique Jackson was responding to the person saying that the clip that you're even responding to, you didn't watch the whole video, because if you had watched that whole video, you would have realized that what they were saying was that that person was not involved, and that there was no trans person involved in this murder in the first place. So while you're sitting here taking this small clip and going and creating a whole nother video, you're now allowing thousands of other people to dive into your comments and to respond to that created fake ass narrative that is uninformed because you didn't bother to watch the whole video. So now you want to spread propaganda and bullshit in a society that is already pledged with untapped, unprotected, ungauged, uncared about trans murder. You're done. Oh. You're done. Log off. Log off, delete the account, and go fill out a job application.
This is exactly how I would hear her doing it if this was Pose right now. Just Electra. I know the dress. It's the purple one that has a low shoulder. Okay. The black heels.
I know exactly what you're
with the stocking, the pearl earrings, the hair up, the glossy red lips, and just.
Yeah. And I've heard that a lot, and I didn't realize that I talk like that. But like, I grew up around women like that. Like, I grew up around trans women and drag queens in that culture. Like, I grew up around those type of women, so I guess it's just embedded in me. Like I said, I joined my first drag house at 15 years old. Shout out to the House of Chanel. So like, when you hear about the queens who were, you know, the minors sneaking in the club, holding their mom's drag, sneaking in the club, background dancing for the girls so they didn't have to pay, getting snuck drinks backstage by the little older guy that likes them. That was me. I was that kid who was 15 years old getting drunk as fuck backstage because the bartender thought I was cute. Like, all of that background dancing for my drag mom, like all of that type of stuff. So I grew up in that culture. I was Damien. Like, I literally was Damien growing up. Except I was Damien younger. Like, I think when the show started, Damien was like 17, 18 years old. I met my first drag mother at 15 years old and never looked back.
Yeah.
Shout out to Malaya Chanel Iman.
Sorry. I mean, this has been a really crazy, amazing conversation, and I love how we're ending it because it tells a new story, and to be very honest, which is where there, you know, I always say this, like, all right, trans people, cool. Yeah, what do you want me to? What do you want me to? Like, they're a person. I mean, if they're cool, I'll hang out with them. If you want to get a drink, I'm at a point in my life. I'm serious. And I feel like other people are getting to this too. If it doesn't revolve around your life, who gives a fuck? How does it affect you? Seriously.
That is the credit that I do give to this generation. It seems like a lot of the kids growing up are like, girl, that ain't my damn business. Like, that's them. And it's like they're seeing it so much now. They see trans people in their regular lives. They see gay people in their regular lives. They homeboy gay, they sisters trans. Like, they don't give a fuck now. Like, they have trans and gay parents. And so it's like, now it's like, girl, so what? Like, girl, we see it now. So what? So what? Like, girl, whatever. Like, and you probably trans, bitch. So what? I love that about this generation. Like, this is really like a I don't give a fuck generation. Like, they're like, girl, I don't care. Like, are you a good person?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've been pushing that bandwagon for years. Like I've been pushing that wheelbarrow uphill for years, and nobody has been on my side with that. They're like, no, no, but like, but you were born this, and I'm like, no, bitch, but it doesn't matter though because you're not the same person you were when you grew up either.
No.
Okay, but that's not a conversation y'all want to have.
People gotta be real. People gotta be real honest. Um, so
And real with yourself first. Chad. Be real with yourself
yes,
because you can't call yourself keeping it real with nobody if you can't be real with your damn self. No shade.
so true. Um, Uru. Oh, please let our listeners know on how they can find you and your awesome work and podcast. I'm going to leave, of course, links in the description so everybody be able to find the work. And I'm serious, like, thank you so much. Like, again, like this is the mission of the podcast. The mission of the podcast is get lost in the groove. We got a great conversation. We go to different directions, different levels.
Absolutely.
Find out that I'm secretly the identical clone of my father. Dum dum dum.
Is that a secret though?
No, everybody in my family knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
Like I feel like your mom wasn't even involved. Like was she there for the
So
conception?
it turns out like I'm only 20% of my mom's DNA. And this is the crazy. I've had a DNA test done. There's a very small percentage of me that's actually Caucasian. I'm like only like 5 or 6%, very low number.
That's great for you.
And it's horrible feeling because when I told this to my mom, like she started crying.
Sorry, Mom. I ain't gonna say it like that. Sorry.
No, but like we just got over it, and like she found out I was like 37% Italian, and then she felt all better. She found out I was like 30.
It was all better. Why?
Yeah, because I can say fettuccine, linguine, Alfredo. That's just pastas.
And not be appropriating the accent. Right, it's just pastas, but it makes you sound real authentic and real organic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Real thick, like olive oil. But yeah, I'm sorry. How can our listeners find your content?
Well, you can find I have a couple podcasts out right now, and then I have a few more launching in mid-December. Right now, you can find my 2 podcasts, Real Reality Realness and Housewives History, wherever podcasts are at right now. They're on all the streaming platforms. If you want to find them on social media, you can go on Talent Group Podcasts, not spelled any weird way, all one word, Talent Group Podcasts. And that's basically the hub for all of my shows. All of my shows have an Instagram page. So if you look up the name of the show, Real Reality Realness, you'll find the Instagram page. Housewives History, you'll find the Instagram page. But Talent Group Podcast is the place where I post about all of the stuff. So you'll be able to find all the things that I do in one place, right? In mid-December, I'll be launching 2 podcasts about Love is Blind, one called 2 Pods, 4 Walls, with my co-host CJ, the Housewife Collector, where we'll be talking about Love is Blind, the American version. We're going to be going back to the very beginning, watching from season 1, episode 1, and we're going to be talking about the complexities of love and relationships when it comes to this experiment and it being wrapped in reality television, but also from the dynamics of somebody who's single and in their 20s and somebody who's married and in their 30s. And then I have a second podcast on Love is Blind called Blind Love Abroad, where I react to the international versions of Love is Blind Brazil, and then eventually Love is Blind Japan. And I talk about basically getting to know this Love is Blind experiment further, but also learning about the cultures of the countries that the spinoffs are set in. Because I never got to be a foreign exchange student. This is my 3rd time saying it. I'm like really pressed about it, apparently. And then my last 2 podcasts are called Shawn Ellis Rogers is Not Kathy Griffin, which is all about me rewatching Kathy Griffin's TV show and her comedy specials and just talking about how that's my favorite reality show ever and about how iconic and just all of the pop culture that she covered through her comedy specials back in the day. And then there's another one called Back to Black Throwbacks, where I watch classic Black sitcoms.
Like the
But you can
Jeffersons.
find like the Jeffersons, Good Times,
Yes.
like we're watching all the Black sitcoms. So my first season of that show is going to be Black Pilots. So it's going to be the first episode of like all of the best Black sitcoms: The Cosby Show, A Different World, Sanford and Son, Good Times, The Jeffersons, Moesha, Girlfriends. We're going to watch it all. But
It's
yeah, find
wonderful.
me a Talent Group podcast, or if you can't remember that, Shawn Ellis Rogers. It's just my name.
Yes.
The link to all of my stuff is in all of my pages. So whatever you find, you'll be able to find me.
Yeah. And thank you so much for being a part of this. And
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it because you reached out to me. Thank you so much.
you're
Like that
you're
doesn't
welcome.
happen a lot. Thank you.
That and I'll leave off with this to our listeners. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of courage just to get you one step further to your goal. So we'll see you all on the next episode of Lost in the Groove. Bye, everybody.